Hey guys, and welcome back to Miss Blackberry Speaks. This is Miss Blackberry. You guys, this is episode 7, and it's entitled Back Down the Rabbit Hole Again. After talking to you guys about mental health in the black community, I wanted to come back and say that getting help isn't for the person that's struggling at the moment. So many times, our children, our spouses, and other family members, they suffer in silence. They look at you struggling when they have struggles of their own. For example, when it comes to my family, my babies have a fear of me getting sick and going back into the hospital. You guys, my husband low key feels that way too. That was the longest 34 days of my life that I had to be away from my family. I've never been away from my husband or my children that long. Watching them on FaceTime, crying and begging for me to come home was something hard I had to endure. But it made me fight even harder to go home to them. When it comes to my husband, I feel and I believe it affected him more than he says. I can tell by the way he look at me, or sometime when I'm struggling around the house, still to this day, he goes into a panic, you guys. If I cough or I sneeze the wrong way or if I'm in pain the entire day, it just send him into a panic. Okay? We both went down the same time. He had to deal with COVID. He had to make sure our babies had what they needed, all while worrying and checking on me while I was in the hospital. You guys, it was something hard. It was really hard. He couldn't do anything for himself. He had to rely on anybody that was coming to my house that was in my family to feed him and my kids. And you guys, because my family could not come into the house, my oldest daughter, she used to go to the front porch, the patio, whatever, to grab the food from anybody that was delivering food for herself, the two babies, and also my husband. Fast forward, you guys, to me coming home. Y'all, my babies were excited. I was so excited to see them, you guys. Although I couldn't walk, I was wheeled out of the hospital in a wheelchair. And y'all, they were excited to see me. But y'all, they would not come around me. They were so scared to come near me because I couldn't walk. I was on oxygen 24 hours, 7 days a week. Not to mention, I was always in pain. They would just stare and sometimes cry, or they would never come around me. They would talk to me from a distance, but they would not come around me. Simple things like giving me a hug or just sitting next to me, they could not do. I don't think they could take it because I was always in pain. While I was home, you guys, I was able to get around from the room to room with a walker. My babies were in online school at the time, and let me tell you about that. Y'all, that was a complete and utter mess, okay? When I say it was a mess, it was a mess. My son at the time was in kindergarten, and baby girl was in the first grade. And please believe me, when I say it was a complete mess, I'm not exaggerating. Now, by now, my husband has started back to work after finding out he was COVID negative. Even though he had breathing problems still and, other issues, he still made sure that I had everything I needed set up every night for me and my kids. When I say he had everything set up for me, I'm talking my medicine, like all of my personal belongings that were supposed to be in the living room with me. My kids would have their breakfast and their lunch and everything fixed. The only thing they would have to do is go in the fridge and get their stuff. And you guys, I know this is TMI, but I also had a portable potty at the time. Because I could not hardly walk, whenever I got into the living room, you guys, I was basically stationed there. I was stationed there. Y'all, that COVID thing had me down bad. And before I move forward, let me just say this and put this disclaimer out there. Whenever I had to go to the restroom, I was covered and my children were never in the room. Okay? They knew when mommy said, hey, look, I have to use the potty, that was their time to go ahead and leave. And I'll let them know out loud, okay, kids, I'm done. You guys can come back. Anyway, now back to my babies in this online school. Because I'm telling you guys, it was a mess. My kids had a terrible time in online school. It was just a mistake all along because my son was not into it at all, especially since I couldn't walk and do things for myself. It was a mess. My son refused to listen to the teacher. He refused to stay in place. Whenever the teacher would call on him, my son would be down the hall in his room playing with his toys instead of listening to the teacher and being in class. My little girl wasn't a slow leak either. She would put a baby doll in front of the camera and she would be in the room playing with my son and his toys. And y'all, one particular day, I was in so much pain. Pain that I've never ever experienced before. And before I could get my son's myself together, y'all, my son told his teacher, I don't have time for this. My mama's sick. My mama's sick. I'm like, what? At this point, y'all, I really couldn't say anything. Like, dude literally quit school in front of me and the teacher. As I was telling him to log back in, y'all, here comes baby girl. Homegirl done signed out of her class too, without permission. And as much as I wanted to fuss you guys, I was in so much pain and glad they were there. If you think that was mild, y'all, I heard a voice come over a speaker in our house. It was my husband. Yes, you guys, I had cameras all over my house because my husband wanted to make sure that I was okay throughout the day. That was his way of checking in and looking in on me while he was at work. As things move along, you guys, I went through therapy to learn how to use my legs again so that I could do things for myself. A month after leaving the hospital, I got sick and my kids started crying and literally sitting under me like I could hardly move. Whenever I took a step, best believe they were taking two. Okay? I'm still having to reassure them to this day. I've learned how to hide my feelings, but yeah, they need to see a therapist, and my husband included. I don't want them suffering in silence or be in a constant state of worry when it comes to me. When that happens, it makes me feel a type of way. Even though I don't show it, I still feel that way. My question is, have you ever had to watch someone you love suffer in silence? Y'all, that is something hard to watch. I've seen it, and I went through it personally. I've seen it with other folks, and I just want to know, how did you help them cope? What kind of encouraging words did you say to them? What did you do with them to help them take their mind off of it? Let's chat about it. For real. Let's chat about it. If you're watching on YouTube, leave me some comments in the description box. I promise you guys I will comment back. Let's go ahead and email each other. I have an email, missblackberryspeaks@gmail.com. Yeah, reassurance is one way that I'm helping my kids and my husband. And another way to keep them busy is just doing something else, just to shift their focus, so they won't focus on all the bad things. We have to shift their focus and reassure them every time. I would take them out for lunch, go to a park, play games with them, just to name a few. Their most favorite thing to do with me is watch YouTube. What are some ways you distract your child or children from becoming in a state of worry over you? What do you do? Do you take them out? Do you do special things with them? Do y'all plan outings? Let me know what you do so that I can try to help my kids out in that way as well. I would love to hear from you guys. My spouse. Y'all, I would do little things with him. It's kind of hard to tell where he's at, emotionally whenever I'm sick. You guys excuse me for stuttering, but it's really hard to tell where he's at, what kind of place he's at. But I've been with him long enough to know. I would cuddle with him and say, hey, I promise, babe, I'm not leaving. I promise we'll be okay. Let's just ride it out. That's my attitude with anything that I have going on when it comes to me being sick and then him going into a state of worry. I'm going to be okay. Let's just ride this thing out and let's see where it goes. That's how I am. If you would like to comment, you guys, about today's episode, email me again at missblackberryspeaks@gmail.com. And if you're listening on YouTube, you guys leave some comments in the comment section. Okay? Until next time, you guys, stay out of the rabbit hole. Keep picking up the pieces and moving on. You guys, this is Miss Blackberry, and we will see you in the next episode. Peace.